Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we are going to learn to animate kinetic text like this for beginners or intermediate or advanced. We don't really discriminate here. First thing you want to do is create a new composition. So I'm going to click on that icon and we're going to make it 1920 by 1080. I do a lot of video work, so I'm going to leave it at 23976. That's what I'm used to. Personal preference at this point. First thing we want to do is type out all of our text. So let's go ahead and click the text tool and click on the screen. First word is learn. Let's go ahead and place this up here somewhere right about there. Select that layer and then we're going to copy and paste and then bring that down a little bit. Now, because I'm cool, I'm going to use the number 2 instead of the word 2 because I'm hip and jiving like that. Just ask anybody. I'm super cool. Select that layer, copy and paste, and then now we're going to bring it back over here. And then we're going to type in animate. Copy and paste, and let's go ahead and type kinetic. Copy, paste. Let's do text. Copy, paste. Let's do like. Let's just do all lowercase like. Okay, select that layer, copy, paste. This, copy, paste. And again, because I'm super cool, I'm going to use the number 4 instead of the word 4. Copy, paste. This last one, I'm just going to make it a little different. So I'm going to do beginners in all caps. Now, this is kind of a mess. So let's go ahead and just kind of organize it just a little bit. Here, I want to make this just a little bit bigger. Animate, let's make this just a tad, well, just a tad bit bigger here. Kinetic, let's make that a little bit bigger. And then let's place that here. Text, let's make that a little bigger as well. All right, so like, let's make this one something like that. And, ooh, see that nice little break right there? Let's go ahead and do that. That looks cool. This, because we want to emphasize learn to animate kinetic text like this, let's go ahead and do something fun with this. So let's maybe change the color here. Let's go something like, yeah, that looks cool. Okay, and then we're also going to make this. Ooh, now because we're going to be emphasizing this, let's go ahead and make it quite a bit bigger. Let's move this down just a little bit. Okay, now the number 4. Because it's 4, let's make it 400% bigger. Here we go. Oop, ran out of room. Let's make that 4. And then beginners, let's leave that for now. I know what I want to do is animate this a little bit different than the rest of the text. So what I'm going to do is copy and paste this and move that down. Hold on. We're just going to hit shift and arrow down just to move that down. And then we're going to select this, number 2, copy and paste, make another one. And let's go ahead and hit shift, arrow down. Let's select that layer again and copy and paste one more time and bring that down. If you hit T for opacity, I'm going to set this to 25%. T for opacity, I'm going to make this one 50%. T for opacity, I'm going to make this one 75%. And then the last one, I'm going to leave at 100%. So you can kind of see this animating in your mind, right? So this is a little far here. And all I'm doing is hitting shift and the arrow up and down, left and right will move it along. Let's go ahead and make this just a little bit smaller, just so it feels a little bit more design. Ooh, actually, let's bump that out here. And then make that a little bit smaller, just so we're following a little bit of this design. Okay. For beginners, I'm just going to line this up so this makes a visual line here. Here comes the fun part. Let's go ahead and start animating this. Now, on our timeline, we have 30 seconds. Let's go ahead and make that just a little bit shorter. We should have done this from the beginning, but if you don't, that's okay. You can still change it. This hamburger menu is what we call it. Go ahead and hit composition settings. Under composition settings, let's go ahead and change this to, let's just do 10 seconds because this is going to be a short, quick little animation. Okay, so at 1 second, that's really how fast all this is going to animate on. And I don't mean everything all at once, but when you take each individual motion, it should really just be a second for it to animate. So now that we have all our text laid out in the design that we want, we're going to start animating. For the animation itself, I want to create kind of a style where it reveals itself behind a mask. If you guys know what a mask is, it just is just a shape to hide what's underneath it or reveal what's underneath it, right? So let's go ahead and create a rectangle just like that. Just to keep this a little bit organized, I'm going to call this learn mask. Actually, yeah, learn mask. Now I hit Command Enter, just enter. And then this I'm going to put down here by my learn. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to create a mask. If you don't see this, it's going to be this button here. This is your transfer controls panel. So go ahead and hit that. So under matte, it currently says no matte. Oops, sorry, wrong layer. So we're going to go under learn. Under matte, it says no matte. We're going to change that to learn mask. Now here, I'm going to hit Option P for position and set a keyframe. And I'm going to go back to the beginning. And I want it to animate moving up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just hitting Shift down arrow until it's completely hidden. And then see how it reveals. Just like that. Next is the number 2. So same thing here. I'm going to create a mask, hit my rectangle tool or Q. I'm going to set my mask here. This is what I want it to be seen. And then I'm going to call this 2 mask. Okay, put it down by my number 2. Same thing. Option P for position because I already got to set the end. And then I'm going to move it up. And I want it to animate going down. So this will be kind of cool because they'll both come out of the same space. And then under matte, I'm going to set my 2 mask. Right? So now you can see they're both animating out of that. Now at this point, I'm going to go through and animate all of the text first, and then I'm going to come back and refine these keyframes so they kind of settle into place. But I'll just show you with these 2 here. So what you want to do is grab all of them. You can right click on one of the keyframes and then go to Keyframe Assistant, easy is, or you can hit F9 and that'll get you something like this. So now the cool part is that they'll just kind of ease into place instead of just a hard stop. Okay, let's move on. Animate. Animate, what do we want to do with this? Well, I think we want to go back. Now, if you hit J and K, this will go to your previous keyframe. K will take you to your next keyframe. Now, I'm giving you guys a lot of shortcuts or a lot of keyboard shortcuts. Learn them. I suggest you learn them because in the long run, they're going to save you a lot of time. So make sure you learn those keyboard shortcuts. So again, J, previous keyframe, K, forward a keyframe. So we're back at 1 second. This is our ending position. So I'm going to hit Option P for a keyframe, go back to the beginning. And again, here's where the keyboard shortcuts come in handy. I'm going to hit Home. That'll take me back to the beginning of the timeline. And I want this to animate left to right. So I'm going to hit rectangle tool again, make sure nothing is selected. And then I'm going to draw my mask here. I'm going to name this Animate Mask. And then I'm going to bring this down to my Animate. Okay, now Animate. I'm going to set that mask to Animate Mask. And here we go. Just like that. Now you see that I chopped it off a little bit. What I can do is I can just select that. You see how that mask is just cutting it off a little bit. I'm just going to hit that right arrow just a little bit until it's at the edge of that text, just like that. Okay, the next one is Kinetic. With Kinetic, I think I'm going to have it animate down as soon as animate slides in. So let's go ahead and set a position there. Go back to the beginning of the frame. Push this all the way up. Deselect everything. Go back to my rectangle tool and draw a box around my Kinetic. And then I'm going to rename this Kinetic Mask. And then I'm going to place this down right above my Kinetic text and go ahead and make this a mask. Hopefully you guys are starting to see what I'm doing here. Now, you see that little someone's peeking out before they should be. So that was the animate text. So what I did is I just didn't push it far enough. So let's go ahead and push it a little bit farther. All right. Let's continue. Text. Option P for another keyframe. Go back to the beginning of the timeline, and then we're going to move this one over to the right. Just like that. Again, go back to the rectangle tool, deselect everything. Let's go back to the 1 second and just draw where I want this. Rename this text mask. And then bring this back down. And then under text, oh, what did I do? Command Z, text. Why is that not? What am I doing? Oh, not the parent link. I accidentally set the parent link. Let's go back to none. Under mat, let's set that. There we go. So we're starting to see this come alive, right? Okay, hang in there with me. Hang with me. Hang in there with me. I don't know. English is not my first language. Hang tight, guys. We'll get there. I'm gonna do a little bit different animation on like. What we want to do is again go back to the 1 second keyframe, and instead of doing position, I'm going to set scale. But before I set scale, what I'm liking is this little like cubby cutout here that it's got going on with the number 2. And so I'm going to have it animate from this upper point. So what I want to do is hit this. This is your pan behind or anchored point tool, and you can get to it by hitting Y, as you saw there in the parentheses. Okay. So instead of this being down on the bottom left, I'm going to move this up to the bottom right. So now when I scale it, it's going to scale from that point, right? So what I want to do is I'm at the 1 second mark. I want to hit Option S to set my keyframe. And then I want to go back to the beginning, and I'm going to set this. I'm going to hit S for scale, and I'm going to go to 0. So you see what that does. Now this one, because it's got a little bit of a different feel here, if I just do a box, it'll overlay that number 2. And I want to have a little bit of a cutout there. So I'm going to make a custom mask. So let's zoom in here a little bit. If you push spacebar, that gives you your hand so you can move around this text. And all I'm doing is scrolling up and down on my mouse. That'll zoom me in and out like that. Okay, so I want to create a custom mask. So again, I deselect everything, go up to my pen tool, or G for pen, and then I'm going to do something like this for like. So I just created my own mask, right? Here, I'm going to name this like mask. And I'm going to put this down here under my mat for like. I'm going to set it to like mask, and then now you can see it animate. It's not going to hit that number 2. Now it doesn't hit it now, but we're going to stagger this animation so it doesn't all just happen at once. Let's go to fit so we can see all of our screen here. And we can see this animated. Let's move on. This one's going to be a little bit different now because this is the word "this" is going to be animated all in one chunk. I'm going to create a big mask for this so that way we can reuse it for all of it. So my mask is going to go here to here. Now you can see that there's a little bit of purple sticking out there. You know what? That's okay. I'm going to make it go a little bit lower because I actually want to grab all this, not the number 4. So you can click on one layer, hit shift, all the different layers, and that will add them. And then I'm just going to bump those down just a little bit using my arrow down. So that's where we want to end. So position, I'm going to hit P for position. And then we want to set this all the way up here. And that's where we want it to start, right? So now, because I have all these selected, what I can do is I can hit Matte. And then, so I didn't rename this one. So it's still shape layer 1. We'll go ahead and rename that. And then go ahead and rename that to this mask. And let's put this down by our this. Okay, so because I renamed it and it was already masked, it already took on that name. So you don't have to worry about changing that or updating that. Okay, let's take a look at that. Very cool. Okay, now the last one is for and beginners. So for and beginners, I think I'm just going to have to split down the middle and then they're going to come out that middle section. So let's go ahead and create a mask for number 4. So again, my rectangle tool, deselect everything, draw a box around that 4, something like that. Rename that layer. And then bring that down. And then the last one, let's go ahead and set that mask to, this is the mask. This is the layer. So mask. And then beginners is the last one. So let's go ahead and do same thing. We wanted to come out the middle. So let's go ahead and do, deselect everything, Q for rectangle, and draw our rectangle there. Rename this beginner mask. And then set our mask here. Great. So that's where we want it to end. Let's jump forward to a second. That's where we want it to end. So let's animate number 4. Option P for position keyframe. Go back to the beginning. We want this to slide out from the middle. And then same thing, go back to 1 second, beginners. Option P for keyframe. And then let's slide this over. Shift arrow key to slide that all the way over to there. Awesome. So all the animation is now done. Now, what we want to do is start timing this animation. First thing I want to do is, if you look at my timeline here, it's starting to get a little messy. Now we can slide this up a little bit to give ourselves a little bit more room, but it's looking a little messy. So what I want to do is I'm going to select all the masks. And you could do this by hitting Command and clicking on the mask. And you can see they're blue. But if you hit Command at the same time, hold down Command while you're clicking on these, you can select multiples at a time. Okay, so that's all of them selected. So now what I want to do is see this little shy guy icon. What you want to do is click on that shy guy icon. Now it doesn't do anything at first, but what it is you're signifying it as a layer that you want to hide. See how he's popping up and he's hidden, popping up, hidden. So now to activate that, you hit this little icon and it's going to hide all those layers. So it cleans it up quite a bit. So now we can really tell what's going on here. We can play with the animations now, right? Without having to worry about all those masks. Let's select all of the keyframes because we want to easy ease this, right? Like that's what gives your animation a little bit more refinement, a little bit more pizzazz, if you will. When you ease that animation, it doesn't look just so robotic, right? Like you start to give it some character. So let's go ahead and do that. So right click on one of the keyframes, go to um, keyframe assistant and then easy ease, or you can also hit F9. Perfect. And then let's take this just a step farther. This is your graph editor. Go ahead and click on that button. Make sure you have edit speed selected. And now what you want to do is grab one of the points and then just grab this little yellow handle and click it towards the center. And then grab this other point and do the same thing. Now what this is going to do is this is your speed. So it's going to go slow, fast, and then back to slow. So it's going to ramp up and then slow down when it hits that endpoint. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at this and see what happens here. Now, if you hit spacebar, that'll give you a preview. And you can kind of see how it slows down when it hits its endpoint. Great. So again, let's grab all the layers except for the first two because we want those two to start right away and they want to be animating from each other, right? So we see that. Animate is the next one, and we want to animate this on just a little bit before they completely stop, right? So we're going to do that and then have it animate out like this. And then the next ones, let's just go ahead and slide all those down. Okay, the next one is Kinetic, and we want this one, same thing, just to start coming out before that one fully settles in. Maybe that's a little slow, so let's bring it in right here. Text, we'll do kind of the same thing here, and you can kind of see how we're staggering this kind of at equal distance, and that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So we can just know that like. And now this is a little bit different. I think we want, yeah, because right now everything's animating at just kind of a block, and we don't necessarily want that, right? Like we want to animate, we want to stagger this animation as well. So let's try just grabbing the keyframes and moving those over. And I made a mistake here because I started moving the number 4. Let's get that out of here. And same with this guy. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's kind of cool, but it's not exactly what I was going for. So let's grab just a beginning keyframe here. And if you hold down Shift, that'll snap it to the next any nearby keyframe, right? So if you hold Shift, that'll snap it to this keyframe. But what we want to do is we want to have all the animations start at the same time and then stagger the end animation. That looks kind of cool. But what's happening is, if you remember, we set the curve of these to go slow at the beginning and then fast at the end. So they're kind of overlapping in a weird way. So all I'm going to do is select all 4 of these, hit Option and click. Command and click. And this will set a regular keyframe and not an easy ease, right? So what we want to do is hit F9 one more time. And that'll put an easy ease on it. And there we go. That's kind of cool. So it's almost like a layered effect, right? Perfect. Let's go ahead and do that. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go back to the keyframe editor, select all those end keyframes, and I want them to slow down just even more so before they come to their end. So let's try that. Yeah, that looks nice. And it's a little slow, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed it up. So the only thing I have to do is grab those keyframes, and I'm just going to speed them up in time. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Great. Let's move on to the number 4. Number 4 is going to animate out. Just like that. That looks great. And then beginners is going to animate out just like that. Great. Now this looks really cool here. If you go to the end of the animation, hit N, that'll just bring this render area down to the end of the where your playhead is, or you can grab these little handles and you can adjust it that way. Now, what that does is once you push spacebar, it's going to give you a preview render of that area. Rather than having to go through all the way to the end and then start over, it's only going to go to the end of this preview region. What do you guys think? That looks pretty cool. Yeah, I think that looks great. So, that looks great. We can end here, but if you guys are anything like me, like you're never done. Like you can always find little things to do to make it better. So I think what we're gonna do, first of all, I'm gonna bring back our masks. Because I think now what we're gonna do to take it up to the next level, it's gonna go from 2D up to 3D. That's the next level, 3D. So what you want to do is select all your layers, hit shift to select all your layers, or command A will select all your layers. And then under this option here, you see this little 3D box. You just click on that. If you don't see that, you can click this. Oh, not that one, this one. So this is your layer switches panel, and that'll reveal it. Go ahead and click that little box. That'll make all these layers 3D. Now you see that they have a different handle on them. That's a 3D handle, right? Okay. And then the other thing you want to do while you have all these selected is you want to turn on the motion blur. Now, the motion blur, what that does is just going to give it one more level of finesse, right? You can kind of see it there. Let's go ahead and bring this back up so you can see it a little bit closer here. And then let's bring this down. So I think what I want to do at this point, this is looking fantastic, but to bring it up even one more level, we're going to crank it up to 11 here, and we're going to make this 3D. Oh wait, we already made it 3D. We're going to make the camera animate in 3D space. So what we want to do, and I know people use nulls. Guys, I think this is a much easier way to do this. So let's go to layer, new, camera. So I think what we want to do is we want to set this to let's just go with a 35. Don't worry about any of these other features. You know, we'll talk about those in a later tutorial, but for now, just go ahead and create that camera. And you see nothing happened. It looks exactly the same, and that's okay. We want to highlight certain portions of this as it animates on, right? Just to give it a little more emphasis on the animation. So what we want to do is we'll start up here on the Learn To. What you want to do is toggle this down on your camera. Under the transform options, what we want to do is set keyframes here and here. Now, on your keyboard, you're going to hit C, the letter C, and this is going to toggle through a few different modes. So here is we can move this camera around. Hit C again. This gives you a zoom in and out, and all I'm doing is clicking and dragging my mouse. Hit C again. This gives you like an orbital view, so you can orbit around, right? And then if you click C again, it goes through those 3 modes. So move, zoom, rotate. And that's it, guys. That's really that simple, right? So let's go ahead and create this first frame here. So all I'm doing is cycling through those modes, hitting the C key, and then I just want to line this up, maybe zoom in a little bit, and then just give it some cool Star Wars angle here. And really zoom in. Oh, that looks cool, right? So that's going to come in, learn. But now you see that the rest of this is falling off, right? So the next point of highlight, reference, I don't know, what we want to highlight is the animate, right? So let's go to animate, and same thing, just click C on your keyboard, And then I'm going to bring this over, maybe zoom out just a little bit, just so we can start to see the rest of it. And then now that's kind of fallen off the edge of the frame there. And I want to rotate it just a little bit, just so we get a little different angle at this. And it's still a little too close. Let's go ahead and zoom out and then move it around here just a little bit. Okay, kinetic text. I think like is the next area I want to highlight. So let's go ahead and cycle through these and move. And then let's keep zooming out here. Just because we're revealing more text, we want to be able to see the text. And then let's do that. And then this, remember, this is kind of the highlight of the whole piece. So we want to make sure we highlight this. So let's go to this. Ooh, this is kind of a cool angle here. Let's just put it down like this, this, and this. And then let's zoom out. And again, just hitting C on my keyboard just to cycle through all those modes and getting exactly where I want, right? And then the final piece is going to be for beginners. And at this point, I think we want to see all the text. So let's zoom out. Let's move this around a little bit, zoom out a little bit more. That looks awesome. Just like that. And again, what we want to do is level up our animation. So anytime we have keyframes, probably the easiest thing to do to make your animation go from beginner to the next level is just to easy ease. So right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, or F9. And this is what the animation looks like. That's great. But what I'm seeing is a lot of like back and forth stop, back and forth stop, back and forth stop. So I want to just refine that animation just a little bit. So I select all the keyframes, go back to my graph editor, select all these keyframes, and then same thing I did before is I'm just going to smooth out these keyframes just a little bit. Whoa. Maybe we have to do one by one. Let's just smooth that one out for now. And you can see the motion that it's doing, right? Like it's speeding up, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down. Now, the reason this one isn't speeding up as much is because it's spread out a little bit, right? So it has a little bit more time to speed up. That ramp isn't quite so severe. So let's go ahead and slow that down just a little bit there. And then slow this down just a little bit. And slow that down just a little bit. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. That looks pretty good, but now our timing is off just a little bit. So I think what we want to do is learn to animate kinetic text. So I think we want to hold that out just a little bit. So go back to the graph editor. You see that we have this selected. We want to hold that animation out just a little bit before it goes on to the next one. Go back here. Let's see what that looks like. Ooh, I like that. Text, like, and same thing. We get to this animation a little late, so let's go ahead and bump it up in the timeline. Go back to your graph editor and push this out just a hair. Go ahead and hit spacebar. This will give you a simple rendering of your animation. Let's see what we got. Learn to animate kinetic text like this for beginners. Okay, now we took it up to 11 before. Now let's take it up to, I don't know, 150. Under layer, go to new solid. So now, great. Now all our animation is gone. Why is that? Because we put a new solid on top of everything. So we're hiding it all. So let's grab it and just go all the way down here to the very end. Let's go ahead and put it there. And then from here, I want to go to effects and presets, do a gradient ramp. And then under here, so let's zoom out just a little bit. Let's go back to 100%. So there's two little dots here. This is the end of your gradient ramp. Actually, it's the start of your ramp, and this is your end of your ramp. Under presets here, or under ramp shape, we want to go to a radial ramp, and then let's swap the colors. Now that's a little bit too extreme, so what I'm going to do, instead of black, I'm just going to go to a light gray here. Something like that. Click OK. Now bring this highlight more to the middle, and then let's bring the end of this ramp out just a little bit. One last thing we want to do to this, and I know I keep saying one last thing, but if you're anything like me, you just want to keep making better and better and better. So I promise this is the last thing. Okay. Now with your layer selected, you want to hit that little guy to bring back your mask layers. Actually, let's hide those back again. One thing we want to, I'm just going to hit it stop there, and we're just going to scroll to the end of the animation just so we can see what's going on. But what I want to select is the animate, the kinetic, and the text layer. Now I'm doing this by hitting command and clicking on all those layers. That'll select multiple layers all at once. And then we're going to press R for rotation, go to the Y rotation value, and then hit -60. What that's going to do is it's going to rotate it along that axis, right? So it's going to put it on a different plane. Now, what I want to do is, you notice that the text is gone, right? And that's because we rotated the text, but we didn't rotate the masks. So now we want to bring back the masks layer, and then hit, so we want to find your text mask, man, that's hard to say. Kinetic mask, and again, hit command, click on the next layer, and then animate mask. And same thing here. We want to hit rotate, R for rotate, and then under the Y value, -60. And that's going to rotate it like that. Now you notice that it's off a little bit, so we have to bring it back in the Z space just to reveal. And then we're going to move it in the X space. And the reason why it rotated funky like that is because we didn't have our anchor set to the middle of this or I'm sorry, to the middle of the mask layer. We just have to finagle it. But that being said, it should be learn to animate kinetic text like this. So I think what we want to do is, on this keyframe here, this is our camera layer. On that keyframe, let's just make sure that we're on that keyframe. I think what I want to do is I want to just rotate it just a little bit more, just to give it that third dimension. And look how cool that looks. So what is going on there? That's funky. Pretend you didn't see that. Okay, here we go. Kinetic text like this for beginners. What do you guys think? Just to give it a little something, something, right? And oh, I did it again. One last thing. Is you guys, you're gonna find this out about me. I mean, what I saw was that it was hitting a little too late. We're missing some of that animation, and so I just want to bring that camera down, right as we're hitting that main animation with all the this gradient, just so we have a chance to see it and we're not missing it, right? So you see that we kind of missed it there. So I'm gonna bring this back just a little bit, and then I'm gonna hit that main point just a little bit sooner. All right, let's take a look. Much better. Much better. Okay. I mean, what's the point of having an animation if nobody sees it, right? Like, we want to highlight that animation. So we want to make sure that camera hits it just perfect, just like that. Okay, great. I said that was the last thing, and that was the last thing. So there we go, guys. If you like what you're seeing, or if you have any other ideas or any other thing you want to see another tutorial, let me know down in the comments below. Until next time, this is your Motion Sidekick, here to help with your motion quest.